we're holding right before Matan Torah. And so, apropos, the right time to, take a step back and look at our relationship with Torah. What does it take to connect ourselves to Torah? Or let's look at it in a different lens. What does it take to connect our children to Torah? Why do you suddenly find often that a child not necessarily feels connected, and the Torah is like, something separate from them? So this past year, I was teaching in a high school, in a Shiakhil high school. I've been teaching for many years in seminary. Seminary and high school, different world. Even though the age gap is not that different. I was teaching 11th and 12th graders, not that different from Sem Aleph, even days. But what I came to realize is a big difference. The difference is that seminary, you don't go unless you want to go. Especially second year seminary, if you're there, it's because you want to be there. So you're kind of like talking to a group of interested students. As opposed to 11th or 12th grade, where by definition, you're talking to a whole group of people. Some want to be there, and some have no desire and absolutely no interest in being there. And it's a very interesting experience. So anyway, I was teaching. There were two classes together because I only had 1 hour a week to teach. So I was teaching 11th and 12th grade together, which made it, a little over 60 girls together. And you can imagine it's an experience. They're all sitting around in this room, and I'm lecturing, and everyone's got a chair, but some of them didn't have chairs. I don't know if that was deliberate or by mistake, but some of them were sitting on the floor. So what ended up happening was, it's a different experience when you're a male teacher teaching a group of girls. You kind of like are standing in the front and you're lecturing. It's different, you're like from afar. And what I came to realize was there was this group of students who were sitting in the back corner the whole entire year. And I would describe what they were doing as having a picnic. They had a picnic all year round. And they like I was wondering whether they just need a few sandwiches and a blanket to roll out, and it would have been perfect. So they didn't have the blanket, didn't have the sandwiches, so they were sitting on the floor, and they were just like picnicking. And I think the only difference that I made was that they were talking a little bit softer maybe than they would have otherwise. But other than that, I literally had a picnic going on in the class all year round. And admittedly, all year round, it was kind of like on my mind and bothering me when it got too loud every so often. And once in a while, I slipped. I shouldn't have. But I slipped. And I just made a comment here and there. Am I that boring? And it went over their heads like nothing. At one point, a group of other students came over and after the class, and they were complaining. They said, what do we do? These kids are just bothering every single class. They're not interested. And we're trying to learn, and they're just disrupting and disturbing. And it just depends on every teacher and how they handle it. But everyone's the same. Anyway, all year round, I had one goal in mind. It's easy to teach those who are interested, but I really wanted to get to those who are not interested. And my question was, how do I do so? Given that I only have this, this short period, and that I got a lot of these girls. So afterwards, they come in and chat and talk, but those ones did not come in at all. In fact, if I recall correctly, on the second or third class, the only interaction I got, a direct interaction, was when the leader of the ring, there was one girl who was clearly the leader, let me know, that it's really not right. I mean, it is 3:20 and the class is over. Can we please end? And ever since then, I decided, you know what? I'm not going to challenge this. And at 3:20, the class would end so that we shouldn't, chas v'shalom, override into her turf of recess. Anyway, so all year round, I'm wondering, what do I need to do to get through to him? And it's really a question you always got to ask when there's someone you want to get through to, often a younger person, a teenager. What does it take to get through? And I think that the key of what it takes to get through is really the first piece of Torah that we teach any child. There's a halakha in Shulchan Aruch when a child begins, right? When a child is beginning to speak, the first thing that a father should teach a child, it says, a parent should teach a child, is Torah tziva lanu Moshe mirasha kilas Yaakov, which is a pasuk in Parshas V'zois Abraham. And what it says is, Torah was commanded to us by Moshe, and it's an inheritance for the community of Yaakov. If you dissect that pasuk, you see the key and why it's the first thing you teach a child. Because it is the most important part of Torah. It's the part of Torah that you can actually, through that, successfully communicate Torah to a child. See, the key word there is, number one, lanu. Torah tziva lanu. What's lanu? For us. And the word commanded also doesn't do well there. Tziva would be much better being translated as tzavsa, as connection. The Torah connects to us. Meaning, when will you find your space in Torah? When you discover how the Torah is absolutely and utterly and totally connected to you. How relevant, absolutely relevant, it is to you. That's what it means. Torah tziva lanu. Moshe. Moshe discovered a way not to command us and tell us what to do, but rather he discovered a way into our hearts and souls. And that is, ask the person what they want. Ask the person, what are you interested in? So in a sense, don't try to teach Torah. Try to help someone answer their question. Now, if you are a Moshe, if you are a representative of Moshe, meaning you are operating from a stance of, my goal is to reveal Torah, to teach Torah, then the next step of what you want to do is put that aside and ask the person, what is it that I can help you with? And most teenagers are not going to answer, what should I help you with? I need help with, it doesn't work that way. You're going to have to work hard to discover what they need help with. But the second you can discover what they need help with, and then you answer it, inevitably your Torah is going to come out, and you're going to be teaching Torah. So the key here is to arrive at the lon, which, by the way, is also what the word Yaakov means. Because there's two names by which we Jews are known. In general, Yisrael and Yaakov. Yisrael is the same letters as Li Rosh, which is when I'm feeling like a head. Yaakov is the opposite, Akev, the Yud in the Akev.
My son Yaakov is named after Yisrael, but my father's Israel. So
he changed the name.
We're going to call him Yaakov.
Perfect, amazing. Yaakov and Yisrael do mean the same thing, except that strange thing to do to name your kid after the heel. Why would any parent want to name their kid? Because Yaakov was touching the heel of his brother, so, oh, your name will be Heel. They didn't name him Heel. Then his name would have been Akev. They called him Yud Heel, Yud Akev. Yud is the name of Hashem. And what they described was that your name is bringing and connecting and binding the Yud to the Akev. So Hashem in the heel. Oh, that's a good name for a child. It means that you have the power to draw Hashem all the way down even to the heel. Like our generation is Ikvas Adi Mashiach, is the generation before Mashiach, is the heels of Mashiach. So the heel is the lowest part of the body. Here's what you want to be able to do. To successfully communicate the Torah, you have to discover the heel of the person and bring the Yud to that. So it's very similar to the Torah Tziva. There is a difference, but we won't go into that now. And that's the question of how do we bring the message all the way down? The heel is the lowest part of the body because the heel is the only part of the body that has no feeling. You can put the heel into hot water and it's dead skin. So you won't really feel anything. That's like our generation. We don't feel anything. We don't feel connected. And if you can bring the Torah down to there, that is the key. So in other words, teach, you want to teach. The way to teach is you want to communicate. The way is to figure out what does the person want and answer their question to the best of your capability. Now, there is a halacha which says as follows: Asur לאדם שיטעום. You're not allowed to taste anything. עד שייתן מאכל לבהמתו. Until you feed your animal. שנאמר, because it says, ונוסעתי עשב בסודך לבהמתך. First you give the grass, the food, to the animal, לבהמתך, and then והודור ואוכלת בשבוע. Then it says you can eat and be satiated. So you're never allowed to eat, nor you're allowed to daven, by the way, before you fed your animal. Most things you could do, you shouldn't do anything before davening, but feeding your animals, you should. Now, we don't really get what that means because, the best we can get is a pet, and most people have pets. But, I remember once going with my grandparents to visit my grandfather's, Oliver Shom's brother. So his brother and his sister, they lived in Rehovot. And they lived in Rehovot as a city. But we went to visit the next door place, which they called Sataria, but the sign was Sitria. So it was this little moshav. And just such an interesting lifestyle to me, coming from a city, is you come in and you see they lived in a moshav, and they lived, and in the backyard there were chickens, and there were, roosters, and describing the difference, and there were cows and goats, and it was like a real lifestyle of a farm. And they weren't really farmers. Maybe a small amount, I'm not sure, I was a little kid. But I just remember this notion of walking in and seeing these guys just like living with the animals. And when you live in such a space, or yes, if you have a dog or a cat or a parrot, and you wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is you gotta feed them. You're not allowed to have breakfast yourself, nor daven before you can feed them. Because, well, simple. Why? Because it's not nice to ignore them. They are helpless without you, and you want to help them, therefore you want to feed them. What I want to do today is take a look at this halacha in a different perspective, from a different vantage, which is, what about those of us who don't have animals? I don't have any animals at home. No pets, no nothing. There is no animal. So you would say, well, okay, so you don't have this halacha. It doesn't apply to you. But as we'll see, in a more esoteric sense, it applies to you very much. It applies to everybody and anybody. And the key is the word asur. How would you translate asur? You generally translate it as forbidden. But what is the literal translation of asur? Did you speak Hebrew a little bit? Huh? Right. Asur is locked up. Right? Matir asurim. Beta asurim is when you're locked up. You're handcuffed. Then you're in a beta asurim. Asur is a prisoner. So read the halacha as follows. Asur le'adam sheyitz'om. Not it is forbidden to taste until you feed your animal, but rather you are locked up. You're prevented. You're blocked. Asur le'adam sheyitz'om. You're not going to succeed in tasting human food until you feed your animal. And let's take this to a more psychological level, to our psyches. We know, as we've learned already many times, that we have two parts to ourselves. We are all schizophrenics. We are dual split personalities. Two parts to us. Part one is called the divine part of ourselves. That's the godly soul. The godly soul yearns for connection, wants truth, wants authenticity. It's when you're just in the mood to just be a good, wholesome person. And then it's like, nowadays we understand it because it's like two windows open on your computer. You could literally be doing two totally opposite activities on your computer simultaneously. So on the one hand, you're listening and you're engaged in the deepest shir in a class of Torah. And on the other hand, at the same time, you could be doing, God forbid, what you could be doing at the same time. And it's amazing to watch the mind. 1 minute there, the next minute there. That's because we have an animal. And the animal lives together with the human inside here. Now, we want to feed the human. We want to grow our inner personalities. We want to feed the human. What does it mean to feed the human? It means to live your life in a valuable way, is to look for Hashem, to find good, real, true, authentic connections to God. So when you're talking to your child and you want the child to follow in the footsteps of Jews throughout the ages, what are you going to do? You're going to tell your child, listen, we need to daven, we need to learn, you need to this, you need to that. And what's the truth? There's only one way to feed a human being. That's called human food. You are blocked, you are locked up. Asur לאדם. You cannot taste שיטעום, human food, until you've fed the animal. What's the animal inside of us?
It's like to come down, you're negative.
The animal is, well, not necessarily negative.
It's not.
Right. Yetzer hara, though, sounds like he's bad. And he's not necessarily bad. It's more, let's call him nefesh habahamis. Animal soul. Animals are not bad.
Gashmias stuff?
What?
Gashmias?
No, opposite.
It's not so much gashmis. Let me just explain what it is. It's your instinctive, needy soul, your needs. You, as a human being, have needs. You have desires, you have needs, right? If you say, I need to breathe. I need to breathe. What's mean I need to breathe?
And that's animalistic?
That's animalistic, of course.
Yes, because it's your body.
It's your desire to live.
Soul.
It's your need to live.
As opposed to what?
Quite fascinating to watch. Well, yeah, fascinating to watch. There was a TED clip.
A what?
TED, put out all these. They put all these. It's one of the most famous ones. It's got like probably tens of millions of views, I think. And it was this neuroscientist and a lady, and she described how she was, studying the brain for many, many years. And then one day, she had a stroke. And it was phenomenal how she describes what a stroke is. She's like, I'm having a stroke. I've studied strokes. I know exactly what strokes are. So most people when they have a stroke are not quite aware of what's going on. She's like, I'm having a stroke. And she said, what I discovered was that a stroke is the most pleasurable experience, as she describes it. It's absolute tainug, absolute pleasure. And you wonder, what does that mean? She says, what happens is you suddenly lose touch with that instinctive desire to be. Like the instinct, the nefesh habahamis says, breathe, eat, do things, right? And suddenly you're like, it's like being drunk. When you're intoxicated, at least during that moment, it feels so good because you're not inhibited, you're not limited by anything. Everything's fine. And she's describing, it's phenomenal to listen to, like this war going on between the two parts of her. So she's alone and no one's around. And she's like, feels so good. I just let go. And then one part of her says, this is a stroke. If you let go right now, you have another few seconds, another couple minutes of life. If you let go, you'll be dead. Another part says, pray. Like, yeah. And it's like this intoxicated part of her. So she decides to go to the phone and dial the phone. And she describes looking for the buttons of the phone. And like, I'm trying to dial and I can't see the buttons. She said, I'm trying to hold my left arm because the left arm's having a stroke and I can't find the arm. She's like, I'm going like, and I'm just touching all the molecules and I can't find where the arm is because the arm just feels like a part of this infinite floating around in midair. It's a phenomenal description. And, she went through it and she went through 8 years of rehab. As a result, I believe 8 years. And at the end of it, she came out and she's now describing this experience of me, kind of like on the verge, on the brink between these two souls. One part of me says, stay down. The other part says, float. And if you take that to our lives, you'll discover something phenomenal. That's why don't drink and drive. There's a certain instinct to stay on your lane in the highway. Isn't it a wonder what makes people stay on their lane in the highway? Why don't people deviate from their lanes and go to a different lane? It doesn't make sense. Everyone is just on their lane, and when they're not, there's something wrong. And you can actually put a pretty solid bet on getting on the highway and knowing that most likely, in most cases, God willing, you should never be in a case where it's not that way, but in most cases, people stay on their lane on the highway. What's prompting you to stay in your lane is your animalistic desire to exist.
The whole nefesh.
Hmm?
That's what a whole nefesh is.
Right. In a sense, it's a positive thing. It means you're not looking at existing.
But
You just
it's not a positive.
no, it's not, because Hashem wants it to exist. Correct. But it feels positive. It feels holy. It feels spiritual.
Because that animalistic is being fed the pleasure, but it's not necessarily what we need.
Correct.
Why
So what we
is it
wanna-
called animalistic if it's stuff that's
Because animals are
naturally
good.
have to do?
Animals are good.
The term animalistic never sounds good.
Well, the term animalist doesn't sound good because we make it not good. But think
If
about
you're
it.
thinking about the halacha, it's
Your animal,
Listen to the halacha.
your animal also takes you a ride. That's true. But an animal, Rav Tvues b'koyach shor. You can't.
Because we're so trapped in like this mindset.
Right. But if you want to plow, you need ox to plow. How do you plow a field without an ox?
Right. Or get meat or milk or.
Right.
Why were animals saved in the
Animals are amazing and very powerful. And guess what? Human beings need animals to live. We eat them in order to exist.
And we also need our animalistic.
And we need our own animalistic self to be. But animalistic self, untamed and untrained, will cause your life havoc. It's disastrous. That's why it's called an animal, because if you don't train him, your animal, that same animal that need to exist, is going to destroy you. So we hover on the brink between these two beings. So here's the halacha. The halacha is, Asur le'adam she'it'om. You are blocked from tasting human food. Now, the difference between a human and an animal is, an animal walks on four. So if you walk on four, what you see in your natural pose is the ground in front of you. You don't see anything big. A human being walks on two. And thus, you don't look up like that, but you don't look down like that either. You walk straight. So you see up and down simultaneously. You won't trip if you're looking straight. So up and down, that's the power of a human being. A human being is able to see the divine. You see, healthy human beings are people who are looking for something higher, are gravitating towards higher purpose. It's not human to say, what's my life about? Making money, being successful, that's life. A human will resist that and say that's not life. Life is about me looking up towards Hashem. It's about me discovering the divine in my life. I need a relationship with the divine. That's what the godly soul needs. But you'll never access the godly soul until you taste the food first. And what does that mean? Ad she'it'om ta'am, asur le'adam she'it'om. You can't taste your own human food until you give him the animal to eat.
So it sounds like we're being navigated by the animal.
We sure are being navigated by the animal.
Is that the end goal?
That's the reality.
That's the reality. But I'm saying-
What you want to do is feed the animal. Now watch this. Every time, if you feed the animal, the human being can ride on that food. If you're stuck, the human being can ride right on that. And I want to show you how. The other day, I had a meeting with someone, and it says, we learn together. It's a weekly Zoom session, and the guy shows up late. Beginning is coming on time, and then he shows up late. One time 7 minutes late, one time 18 minutes late, and and I don't know, I got a problem with these things. I mean, I don't know why. Everyone's wired in a different way. My wiring is a bit of a yucky wiring. It's that whatever you say you're starting, start. And,
No matter what happens.
meaning
It's your time.
today I was late. Over here.
It's also respect.
Yeah, it's like respect. Like, what do you mean coming late, you know?
Value something that you're respected enough to show up.
Right. So in shul, I know there's a time. I mean, maybe we don't agree on time. You know, sometimes the gabbai will write that the minyan starts at 9, and really I know that it starts 9:09, which is fine. But he doesn't want to write 9:09, so okay, that's good. But that's when it starts 9:09. So I got someone who always goes, it's 9 o'clock. Why we haven't started? I'm like, we start 9:09. That's when we start. Every single day, the same thing. And by me, it bothers me to no end when someone comes late. So this guy's coming late, and I'm getting frustrated. So what do you do if you're frustrated and someone's coming late? So I said to him, you know, do me a favor. At one time we started learning, I said, do me a favor, just tell me when you want to come. And when I don't mind if you can't, just let me know before.
Were you the only other person?
Yeah. Just let me know before what time you're coming. If we're starting 10:30 and you want to come 10:49, that's fine. Say I'd like to start 10:49. At least I'll know when you're on. I won't be sitting over there like a golem just looking at a screen.
That's very unpleasant. It's not you.
So he said to me an interesting thing. He says, do you think that's going to get through to me, what you just said? Can I give you another piece of advice? Like how to tell me and get me to come on time.
Well,
Instead of saying, and it was an amazing piece of shalom bayis, like real advice on how to live your life. If you tell me, you know, I really need, just tell me when you're coming. It's okay, just tell me when you're coming. What's really happening over there? Do you see how, what am I really feeling? What am I really, really saying?
You're not a priority.
Right. So why didn't I say that? Why didn't I say, how would you say I'm not a priority?
The commitment. I made a commitment, and
Right. So what should I say?
I'm more important than whatever else.
Am I hiding something? Think about it. When I'm telling you that I was waiting for you at 10:30 and you showed 10:49. What do I want to say? Say it straight, like
But
it
it
is.
hurts your feelings.
Thank you. Why don't I say that?
Because
because you know
it takes away your ego. It takes away your ego.
There you go. Because my ego is like, I'm not hurt.
Everybody would just say things, right?
100%.
But I am hurt, right? I'm sitting over here feeling, what am I feeling? What's the hurt? Give a name for the feeling. Neglected, close. Disrespected is probably the best. I feel disrespected. That's what I'm feeling. So he said to me, you're telling me, like you're saying, I really would appreciate if you'd come on time and whatever, and that. You're not getting through to me. And you know why? Because of this. Because asur לאדם שיטעום עד שייתן מאכל לבהמתו. You're blocked until you fed the animal. There's an animal. The animal is the animalistic feeling, which I have, the actual, real, true feeling that I choose to ignore, that I choose to run away from and to hide from, because I'm not comfortable in that feeling. Isn't that the case? He said to me, you want to get through to me? You want to get through to me? Tell me the truth like it is. How do you feel when I come late? I said, okay, if you put it that way, I feel, thought about it, disrespected. Because now what do you think is going to happen now? You told me you feel disrespected. Now I get what you feel. What's going to happen next?
He'll be on time because he doesn't want to disrespect you.
I don't want to disrespect you. Now try it out at home. In any instance between two people. Yeah, homework. In a marriage, right? Between husbands and wives. This is the core of the problem. You're not feeding the animal. You're kind of like beating around the bush. Anything but to face the issue like it is. So a husband comes home late. What does the wife say? She's like, why did you come home late? Why can't you look? You come Friday night, right? Everybody else comes home on time and whatever. And you are like, I understand. Why are you, why have to be late? What's he going to respond? I was enjoying myself in shore, right? What should I do? Or, I don't want to come and face you. Or, most likely what he'll say is,
I didn't realize the time.
right?
But even if you won't be polite, then you will say I did my best.
What if he feels nagging? You think he might also respond, you also don't come often like on time or whatever. You're attacking me, I'm attacking you.
Being defensive is like such a.
What would happen if she found a different response? What's she feeling?
Alone.
Alone. See, if you say I'm upset, that doesn't work. You're not feeling upset. I get you upset. Why are you upset?
Why isn't that work?
Say it. When you come late, I feel very lonely. I didn't attack you. I didn't hurt you. I just told you what I feel, what my animalistic feelings are. Again, not everyone's going to succeed always, but what are you more likely to succeed in? When you tell him, why do you have to come late? Everyone else comes on time. Or when you tell him, I really feel very lonely when you come late and I'm very hurt and sad. And when you come on time, it feels so good and so happy.
The second part is not less important.
Right.
Like
The good part. Which is more likely to succeed. By the way, let's try the other way. Let's say she didn't do it and he wants to get it right. So she attacks him when he comes home because humans are humans. We're not always going to know what to do right. So when she tells him, you really, really, really should everyone else comes on time. And why do you have to always be late? How's he feeling now? Right, name it. Try it like this. When you respond that way, and when you tell me that I'm late, I wouldn't use the word accuse.
Well,
Sound good.
When
you tell me that I'm late, I feel.
It's not just that. It's
Let's just say this.
Crushing the other.
Yes.
Instead of building.
When you come late, when you accuse me of being late, but don't say the word accuse. I don't think it's good. When you tell me I'm late, I feel. Fill in the blank. What? Criticized. What else?
Like a child.
Right. I feel broken.
It's not building. You're not building. You're not communicating.
I feel like a failure. I feel very hurt.
The human nature is not to talk.
We don't like to face the animal in the room, the elephant in the room, literally. But if you face the elephant in the room directly and you look him in the face and say, that's how I feel, you know what's going to happen? The result is going to be that you're going to be no longer bound. You're going to become free. That's the halacha for all of us. Asur לאדם שיטעום. You're blocked from tasting human food, human relationships. And then all human relationships go messed up and awry. And for no reason, mamish, for no reason. And if you just face it like it is, try it with anybody. Instead of being accused but you have to break. You have to stop. When you get accused of something, stop, pause. How do I feel? And then you say how you feel. And you don't blame the other person. You say, when this and this happens, I feel this and this way. Now you're feeding the animal. And as soon as you feed the animal, now you're able to feed the human. You get the thing? It's not you need to feed your animal before you feed the human. It's you're blocked from feeding your human until you fed the animal. Until the animal feels satisfied, taken care of. You got me, your inner animal, the animal inside you. And then you feel wholesome and like, okay, good, I'm good. Got it, next. And it's quite amazing how quick it happens. Like fights can go on for years because you just weren't willing to do the simplest thing, which is just face the feeling like it is. Say it like it is. So getting back to the point, that's what it means, Torah tziva lanu, Moshe. If you want to get the Torah down, no one's listening to your Torah until you listen to them. It's not possible to communicate the Torah without that key word of lanu, and it's a Mirashafu Kehilas Yaakov. Who's Yaakov? The Yud in the Akev, in the heel. The one who's in the dirt, right there. And then the second you get that feeling and that connection, now you can be heard. Before that, it's impossible to be heard. It was an amazing thing that happened. So what happened was in that class, all year round, I knew I have to get through and understand what is, well, there were 3 girls in this picnic, but you kind of like notice that there's one who was, the ringleader, the power behind it, the instigator. And I just wasn't getting the opportunity because, after the class, a whole bunch of students come over to ask questions, to talk about the class or whatever. She didn't come over because I don't think she ever knew what the class was about. I'm wondering if she ever listened. It's the reality. Then what happened was, so there was 11th and 12th grade, so the 12th graders finished the year a couple of weeks before the end. They were done. So now I had just the 11th graders. And that meant there was half the class. So now it was a little more challenging to sit on the floor and have a picnic. And so they were all sitting at their desks. We went to another classroom and now they're all sitting at their desks. And, so I don't know, just towards the end of the year, and I walked in, I saw there was a lot less, students. So I said, and for those who have students in my class, just careful with this when you repeat this story. Don't repeat it so quickly. So suddenly this kid, like I asked, I said, what would you guys like to ask? Anything, whatever you want, I'll answer. Now, I don't know, the principal told me that she gets a record of what I spoke about after class. So she gets the notes, and I'm like wondering at what point, when she reads them, I'm going to be told, no, you cannot discuss that. You're fired.
A little too late.
Yeah. So anyway, I said, ask whatever you want. So the one, this is very religious girls and everything. The one who wants to know, why is it that, what's wrong with sleeping around? Was her question. And it felt like a question which was like an attack question. But I decided you got to tackle it right like it is. So I sat there for the next half hour and I answered the question. I just explained very simply, as if you didn't know at all what it was, that basically that intimacy, physical intimacy, is nuclear power. And nuclear power is nuclear. So you can power up amazing nuclear plants and do a lot of good with it, but it can also create bombs. So Hashem told us that in the context of a marriage, nuclear power is what builds marriage. That's what makes people connected. But if it's out of marriage, it's also nuclear power, just the wrong way. And so if you apply the nuclear bomb everywhere, it's like you just can't go and bomb everyone you want, just throw a nuclear bomb everywhere. It doesn't go that way. And we had a whole discussion about how it works, and it was very nice. And then I noticed that it was the first time that I had full attention from everybody. I was like, wow, that's interesting. You have to talk about certain subjects, and then you get a full attention from everybody. Then came the last class of the year, last week. So now it's the last class. It's a goodbye. And the principal asked me, don't ask just random questions, intent, rather summarize the year. So I said, okay, summarize the year. So I'm like, okay, what did we learn this past year? And we began to speak about what we learned the past year. We learned Torah. What did we learn? And what I was drawing them in the conversation was to realize that whereas we learned that emunah is an abstract concept. It's like, of course, we believe in Hashem. Sure, you believe in Hashem, but Hashem took us out of Egypt, and Hashem split the sea and did all wonderful things for us. And could Hashem split the sea now? Sure, he could, of course. But again, my question is not what he could do. My question is, what does he do for you now? What's the relevance of Hashem in your life today? Wouldn't it be phenomenal if you realize that when you let go and let Hashem in and actually learn the tricks of how to live a normal life, like not really tricks, just living a normal life, like let go. When you have a problem, let go and let Hashem do it for you. You know, someone sent me a great image of, it was a laughing, like a guy dressed with a strimo, and he's laughing, and he made the image, and he's standing with a koisel in his background. And it says there on the top that, I forget the exact line, but last time I heard, tracht gut wird sein gut, think good and it'll be good. Say that to someone who's really struggling with depression. Something to that effect. So the guy sends it to me, and I said, what's the message here? Are you suggesting is the message that, like, these ideas like tracht gut wird sein gut are an instant fix, he said. And you're trying to solve a huge problem of depression, a clinical problem of depression, with an instant fix. And I'm like, who said instant fix? What's instant got to do with anything? Tracht gut is hard work. And suddenly it's a realization that through thinking positive and good and bringing Hashem into your life on a constant basis, well, what you're actually able to do is make miracles, not once upon a time, make it happen now. And that's the lonu. So conversation gets led into the space, and this girl tells me, she says, you know, school is just plain dumb, confining. It destroys every fiber of my being. I feel completely and utterly destroyed by school. The teachers, the whole atmosphere, everything is stifling. That was the first time. The second time I heard a voice in the year. Well, I heard it the whole time talking in the back. But the one time I heard it was when she told me that class ended at 3:20. And this was the next time she spoke to me. I was like, wow. So I said, okay. And Hashem suddenly, opens up these channels. And I said to her, it sounds like you're saying that being in school and being taught by teachers and everything that's around you is, how do you feel that? Let's describe the feeling like it is. Let's not beat around the bush. Let's talk about the feeling as is. What is the word? She says, it's just annoying. So no, annoying is too broad. What is it? Stifling. I feel trapped. I feel stifled. And she wanted to add frustrated. I said, okay, fine. And okay, so you feel stifled and you feel that you are trapped and blocked. She says, yes, that's exactly how I feel. And the second she said that was the moment of the year that I built a connection, because now I understood for the first time how she felt. And she felt that I got how she felt. That's the lonu. I got the lonu in. So now it's like, okay, seize the moment. I'm like, okay. What if Hashem were revealed to you? What do you want to feel if things were perfect and amazing, if Hashem was able to run because he's perfect? What would you want to feel like? She says, I would feel like if I got, just be able to be free and out of this bondage that I'm in, I would feel, and we captured some words, alive. I would feel like an inner happiness. And she described, we gave a few good words to feel this aliveness. And I said, okay, let's start feeling it now. Did you ever feel it before? Do you have anything you want to base it on? She's like, yeah. When I came to school 2 years ago, in 9th grade, the first time. So it was just amazing. They were so nice. It was so special. I moved from a different school and I came in, and for the first time, they were just welcoming. And I felt like they cared and they understood me. And you felt alive, right? Yeah. And her face beamed. For the first time, she's like, yeah, it's okay. Watch this. Feel that now. And feel that Hashem is with you now and you're in his space. And when you get into his space, you don't have to worry about any of your teachers and the school and the stifling and the trappedness. And every time you feel trapped, say, I feel trapped. Call it like it is. That's your animal. And once you've announced that to yourself and someone's understood it, like I told you, I get it. And you said, yes, that's exactly how I feel. Now, what do? Hashem, I know that you're Hashem. And I know you can do anything. And so you have a power. So Hashem, take me out of this trapped position that I'm in. I don't know how you're going to do it. I know what I want to feel. And after I ask Hashem to do it, I'm going to feel that Hashem did it for me. I'm going to feel that. And the more I feel that good, tracht gut, feel it now, and you have actual proof of it happening. I said, you have one case you gave me when you came in 9th grade the first time. What about other cases, more when it happened? Every time you capture one of those moments, you are going to feel Hashem's presence, guaranteed. You're going to see the most amazing miracle happen. The more you feel Hashem in your life, the more Hashem is going to be revealed in your life. But it's never, ever possible to get that message across until you feed the animal. First, you got to feed your animal. That means until you haven't said it like it is, I feel trapped. I feel enclosed. And I want to feel alive, but you're killing my soul. And the second you say that, and it's on the table and it's clear, now you're no longer asur. Now you're able to taste human food. The animal needs to be fed so that the human being can be fed. And as we approach this moment of Matan Torah, and Hashem wants to give us the Torah, you've got to realize that giving of Torah is not something that took place once upon a time in the year 3338. The giving of Torah takes place now, every single year in 5782. Hashem is right here and ready to give you the Torah and ready to give you himself. And you say, what does that even mean? The only way to get the Torah is if you put the lanu on the table. If you spell it like it is. Just like you talk to someone else in a relationship and you tell them what you feel, talk to Hashem and say, this is what I feel. I'm feeling, these are my problems. And you say it like it is. When this happens, Hashem, I feel very troubled and boxed in. I feel lost and I feel all this and this and this. That's how I feel. And then you ask Hashem to reveal himself to you. And you feel what that's like. And you allow Hashem, this is what it's going to feel like when I get this revelation. Wow, I'm going to feel like that. And then you allow that revelation and that feeling to descend into your life. And then you are a receptacle to receive his Torah. Because then you start realizing that it fits in, it's the next piece of it all. It's that Hashem's Torah and Hashem's mitzvahs are designed to allow you to feel that experience. Then you can begin to taste real human food. What's human food? Human food is humans who are connected to Hashem. When you do Torah and you do mitzvahs and you learn and you daven, and it suddenly opens up this blockage. Because so long as there's the blockage inside, can't get through. Asul Le'adam Shi'om. You are blocked and locked from eating and tasting real food. Ad She'iten Ma'achal Lebehemto. And so, because it says, "V'nasati Esav v'salcha libehemtecha v'achalta v'savata." So our lives is about saying Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, about living a relationship with Hashem, about living Anochi Hashem Elokecha. You can only live Anochi Hashem Elokecha if he's Elokecha, if he's your personal connected God, and talk to him. Tell him what you feel, like it is. Identify it. And it's, by the way, each time. It not just happens once and finished. Every time. Hashem, I'm feeling this. Hashem, I know you're with me. I feel it. And slowly what will happen is the Torah gets connected to you, becomes a part of who you are, and becomes one with you. And you're suddenly able to have human food. So we should all have a Kabbalah Satorah B'Simcha Pnimis, which should merit to experience the Torah with happiness and in a real, true way that it's connected.